This update is weird. They've changed a lot of different things, and some of them are good, and some are less good. Arguably, the biggest change this patch is to mid. They redesigned the whole bridge, there's now stairs instead of ropes to get to the area above mid-boss, and now mid-boss sits in a nice little puddle of poop. I do really like the new sewer visuals, and I think it would be cool if they give mid-boss itself a more sewery visual update. One of the biggest changes to the area is that the ropes leading down to mid-boss now give access to the area above it, which means you don't have to enter from the middle of the lane if you want those boxes or to set up for a rejuve steal. More importantly though, it lets people who have dropped down to mid-boss climb up into that middle area. So if you think there's a Lasher and Abrams sitting up there licking his lips getting ready for a rejuve steal, you can climb up there and give them a lesson on why stealing is bad. They've also made rejuve drop down an entire second faster than before after you kill mid-boss. So all that time you spent practicing, visualizing rejuve dropping, meditating in a monastery to get the perfect heavy melee timing, yeah, you can throw all that out. It drops down a second faster than it did before, and as far as I can tell, they've sped up the audio behind it so that it still lines up when rejuve is punchable. Rejuve dropping down faster, combined with being able to access the area above it from the pit, means that stealing rejuve is a little bit harder than it was before. If you're looking to go for a steal, I'd recommend staying around the area when you think enemies are actually going for it so that you can get there in time, and almost always going down using the ropes instead of the stairs because they're a lot faster. I think mid's new design is interesting, and I think that the rejuve change is solid. This has my good change stamp of approval. Another big change from the update is that walkers and guardians will now give 40% of the souls they get to whoever's in the area when they break, or to whoever shot them 20 seconds before they broke. Then take the remaining souls and split them between everyone on your team. So, for example, walkers give 4,500 souls to your team. If 2 people went and broke one, they would get 1,800 souls split between the 2 of them. Then everyone on the team would get 450 souls. With this change, if you're pushing with someone on your team that's a late game carry, you can let them break a structure alone to funnel more souls into them. I'd typically recommend trying to do this if you have the core of your build already, or if you're playing a character like Kelvin who can do well with less souls. It's a little tricky because you have to be sure whoever's pushing can take the objective by themselves, and 20 seconds is a big enough window to take a share of the souls that I would typically recommend not even shooting at it. Honestly, I hope they lower that window a little bit because I think it makes the funneling thing more viable, but we'll see what they do with it. I think this has a potential for interesting strategies and encourages carries to push more. This has my good change stamp of approval. Now I do have some unfortunate news. They've also changed walkers and guardians so that they no longer drop soul orbs when you break them, which means the first ever video I made on this channel is now mostly obsolete, so I'll probably private it. In addition to this, they've also removed soul orbs from kills. Frankly, both of these changes make me kind of sad. I really like soul orbs in Deadlock. I think they're a cool mechanic, but it seems like Valve is constantly shifting away from them, whether it's making them less valuable or making them easier to confirm or just removing them entirely. I understand that a lot of people would ignore the orbs on structures or kills, but I liked having the game knowledge to know that they were important, so I got rewarded for actually taking the time to get them. Let me know if you agree in the comments, but personally I have to give this a bad change stamp. Flex slots have also been changed this patch. You now need to break 3 guardians instead of 2, and 3 walkers instead of 2. I think this change is probably good. I've found since the shop update that I need flex slots a little bit later in games, so making them a little bit harder to get makes sense. It also makes your 3rd guardian and walker valuable again, where they didn't feel very important before, so good change. The patch has also increased the value of kills by a fair margin. Kills are now worth 300 instead of 250 at the start of the game, and scaled to being worth 2,000 instead of 1,800. They also reach their max worth of 2,000 at 40 minutes instead of 45, which means they scale a lot faster too. This increase in value should mean that early kills are more impactful than they were before. Not by so big of a margin that games should be decided by laning phase, but by enough that hopefully if you have a solid laning phase, you can feel like your lead is helping you into the mid game. I'd also say that the removal of soul orbs from kills is kind of a buff to early kills as well, because denying your lane partner's soul orbs when they died was fairly common, and this would lessen the impact of these early kills. Overall, I think the buff to kills is a good change. You know another change I think is good? The change to my subscriber count when you click on the subscribe button and drop a like on the video. Thanks, it helps a lot. Now for what I think is one of the weirdest changes ever made to Deadlock. The boon changes. Before the patch, whenever you would hit a certain milestone of souls collected, your character would level up. Sometimes these levels would give ability points, sometimes power increases, and sometimes both. Now whenever you hit a soul milestone, you will always get a power increase, as well as getting an ability point or ability unlock, as well as getting the biggest notification you've ever seen in a font I can only compare to Comic Sans. This all seems fine, right? Well, the weird part is you can only get 29 ability points before you max out on soul milestones. It takes 8 ability points to fully upgrade an ability. So with a little math, you can see that when you're maxed out on boons, you'll be 3 ability points shy of fully upgrading all your abilities. So if you get to the late game, you'll be left with 2 ability points that you can't do anything with. The only way currently to get an extra ability point outside of boons is to be the deliverer of an urn. So to upgrade that last ability, not only does your team have to have collected 3 urns over the course of the game, but they have to have been delivered by the same person. This change baffles me. It was already pretty rare that a person would get enough souls to max all their abilities. It required 47.4 thousand souls. It's so weird to remove the chance to upgrade every ability to full in that rare late game scenario. Maybe they want to encourage people to deliver urns more, but if that's the case, why lower it by 3? Make it so that you can only get 31 ability points from boons, so you have to deliver 1 urn. 29? 29? Are we living in a crazy world for crazy people? If you want it to be that hard to fully max abilities, then add a couple of boons to the ultra late game. It's already rare for people to scale to that point. It just feels so weird to get to the end of a long game of Deadlock and be left with these 2 floating ability points. Let me know if you agree in the comments, but this gets a big bad change stamp from me. Rescue Beam got nerfed from having a 30-second cooldown to a 60-second cooldown, which I honestly think is pretty good. It's a super fun item, and having to choose when to use it instead of just spamming it for heals is probably a good change. And I'm glad they didn't gut it, even though it was super strong. Good change. They nerfed Viscous. Bad change. They've also made it so that urn will start to drain your max health a little bit faster when you're holding it, and will start to run away sooner after you drop it. These changes are to try to fix one of the biggest current problems with the urn, and that's if the enemy team has a comeback urn, it's typically best to grab onto it and just hold it in your base. If you watch my urn video, you know I talk about some strategies to try and get a neutral drop off for urn, or to prevent a comeback urn from spawning, which I think are both really cool and interesting strategies, but they get overshadowed by simply picking up the urn and box running near your base so that the enemies can't get it. These changes aren't really enough to stop this, and typically just make the urn more annoying to run or fight over. I think that instead of going down this route to discourage holding the urn, they should just put up barriers that you can't cross once you've picked up the urn. Maybe if the urn is neutral, you can go wherever with it, but if it's a comeback urn, there's a barrier that stops the team that's ahead from bringing it really far towards their base. This way the team that's behind could go try to punch it off whoever was holding it, and the team that's ahead would have to protect that holder if they wanted to keep it. I think it's a way more interesting solution, but let me know if you agree in the comments. Calico has received a huge nerf this patch. She can no longer break boxes while in cat form, except with this kind of clunky melee. It's unfortunate because it was a mechanic that felt really good while you were playing it, but it did make her way too good at farming. They also nerfed a lot of other aspects of Calico, like her health scaling, damage scaling on pounce, and damage increase after ult. Now I know Calico is really strong, but there's a part of me that feels like after the cat nerf, only 1 or 2 of these other nerfs was needed. Maybe I'm crazy. I understand that she has a pretty frustrating play pattern sometimes, so I get why people complain about her. Good change. Kelvin got a nerf to his beam's range and cooldown, which I honestly think is great. That thing can be crazy oppressive in lane. Geist Life Drain got a fair nerf by the self-slow on it upping to 40% from 25%. Her bullage damage got reduced by a little bit, and her ult got a little bit of a shorter range. Warden's ult has been nerfed pretty heavily. Now, if you interrupt it while he's casting it, it goes on full cooldown. The base DPS on it has been reduced, while the spirit scaling on it has been increased, which is a great change. It's frustrating to see a full gun Warden get huge value from his ult, even though he hasn't built anything for it, and it makes him pretty hard to build into. Last but not least, Wraith has received a big nerf with her bullet damage scaling being reduced by 18%. Her cards also do a little bit less base damage, but have increased scaling with Spirit, and now when they're tier 3, they have a 25% slow. Good change. If you learned anything in this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all later.